speaker and marketing strategist who specializes in brand strategy and copywriting. And he's a wonderful guy. He's been hired by some of today's most influential thought leader brands, including John Maxwell, Don Miller, and Susan Evans and Catalyst. For years, he was the CMO for a successful multi-million-dollar company in New York City. Nowadays, you'll find him speaking at conferences and teaching everything he knows about branding, entrepreneurship, and life through his hit podcast, Brand You. Welcome back, Mike.
It is an honor to be with you guys. Nice little wave. Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing well on this Friday. Thanks for taking the time out to join us today. And I just hope that today will be very, very valuable to you. So, Allison, can I start just with a few thoughts? And I'm going to share my, okay. All right. So, guys, I'm going to share my iPad screen here. And don't worry about taking notes furiously. I'm going to send you anything that I draw on this iPad. I'm going to send to you as a PDF after we're done. So please don't feel the pressure to feel like you have to screenshot everything and, and scramble. And I'm going to turn it sideways here so that it's sort of just, yeah, there we go. It's sort of widescreen. And I know Zoom tends to eat up the entire computer screen when someone else shares their screen. So if you just hit your escape key or X out, it'll minimize the video again. Zoom is greedy like that. It just likes to take up the whole screen. So just want to let you know about that. It's a nice little trick. And I know this is a complete aside, but I get this question like every time I do this. People are, how are you sharing your screen and doing this whiteboard thing on Zoom? I would love to do it with my clients. So here's the cat's out of the bag. I just have an iPad. And I join the Zoom call with my iPad. And then my iPad has an app called Notability on it. And I just share that. So that's it's nothing crazy. So I bought an iPad for these purposes. And so if any of you choose to use this with your clients down the road, there's a little tech hack for today. Okay. I know a lot of the questions that came in since our last call were around the idea of building a business or marketing the business. And so as we kind of start today, I want to actually talk about two types of focus. And I'm going to use the word focus in lieu of the word niche or niche. Some people say the word niche because as soon as this is what I found in my work. As soon as I talk to a client about niching down, they get a little bit worried. They're like, oh, what is that? Oh, no, I feel like I'm excluding people. I don't want to focus in on one type of person. And so I'm going to reframe that perspective. And we're going to use the word focus instead of a niche. Because as coaches, we don't work necessarily with niches the way that the normal or, kind of mainstream business world thinks of niches. We work with people based on their need, not based on their age necessarily or their income or any of those other kind of demographics. So when we talk about two types of focus, first, I want to talk about the vertical focus and the horizontal focus. Okay. And I'm just going to use this as just a starting point for us as we talk through how do we get a little bit more clarity on who we want to reach? Because Mike, the word of mouth isn't working as well. How do we reach out to people about possibly working with us? And like many of you, my client base is rather diverse. I have a lot of different people I've worked with, but the way I've found those clients is usually because I was clear with people I knew about who they could refer to me. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So these are just broader things, but a vertical focus, you hear this a lot in the business world where they have different verticals, right? And what they mean by a different vertical is simply a market. Okay. It's simply the market that they're trying to hit. So if you are a coach and you have a vertical market, right? Maybe you only work with CEOs. Okay, that's one potential vertical market. Or you work just with, parents. Okay, And that's a little bit of a different focus. You have a different market. Maybe you work with entrepreneurs. Okay. And so these are just sample vertical markets. Okay. And in that, right, you can apply your coaching, and you know that all I focus on are really CEOs or parents or entrepreneurs or whoever your clients tend to be. Now, you may, I don't know what all of us are doing, but you may actually have a different type of, or a specific type of coaching that you do. And we can absolutely talk about that. And that is a horizontal focus where you offer a specific type of coaching. Let's say leadership coaching. I'm just going to use that as an example, across many different verticals. So maybe you offer leadership coaching, but some leaders are CEOs, and some of your leaders are small business owners, SMB. I'm writing that there. And some of your clients are entrepreneurs. Maybe some of your clients are coaches, like athletic coaches. I know several friends who coach just in athletics. But the point is that your main offering here is leadership. That is the key word. You don't do, let's say, maybe life coaching or anything along those lines. So I just want to kind of present that as an overview, because the more you focus in on one or two, either a vertical focus or horizontal focus or both, the more clear who you're targeting will be.
You mean an intersection of both, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So great point, Allison. So when it's like, I'm not a violent guy, okay, but let's just say, for example, we have this focus right here, and you have the horizontal and the vertical. It's like a scope on a gun, and it's just kind of like a target. So I'm going to back up here and just use myself as an example, and maybe we can dialogue with this. And again, if you guys have thoughts or want to chime in, absolutely watch on the chat or post on the chat. When I started out as a business coach, I wasn't very clear on my market. I just said, anyone who will pay me. Has anyone been there? Just raise your hand. No shame here. When I started, I was like, who's your market? Like, anyone who will pay me money.
Well, and it's kind of a common place to start, right? I mean, it's to figure out what you do is you just take anything.
Yep. And clarity comes not in a moment, right? It's always a journey, Allison, and all of us, right? We all know this, right? And so sometimes finding out what you really want to focus on is more of a matter of like finding out what you don't want to do rather than knowing what you want to do right out from the gate. So early on, my market was anyone who would pay me for marketing. And as we all know, marketing is also a very broad topic. So as I kind of developed my career as a business coach, as a consultant, and as honestly a contractor, a freelancer in some ways, I started to focus on marketing strategy for online entrepreneurs, people who were selling information products. So I got a little bit more narrow. And then, I narrowed my vertical market. And then even within that, helping online entrepreneurs grow their business, there was a lot in that. So I started to focus horizontally instead of, leadership coaching or marketing coaching. I started to focus specifically on writing. I'm going to become the writer. I'm going to become the campaign. I'm going to write their campaigns. So now who was I targeting? Anyone who is selling an information product online. And what was I going to do? I was going to write their marketing campaigns for them. And as I did that, I got away from this idea of a niche, because all of my clients were across the board a little bit different from one another. I couldn't say I only work with men or I only work with women or whatnot. They had a need that I could fulfill or provide for, and I had an idea of what I wanted to do for them. So this is not meant to be exhaustive. I just want to start here so that we have a broader overview. And I want to alleviate that burden of feeling like you have to niche down. Now I'm going to present 2 more questions here to make this hopefully even a little bit more down to earth and granular. I just, marketing can seem like this really, really vague thing. And I just like to make it super practical and simple. So I'm going to ask all of us 2 questions just to get us a little bit more focused. Whether you have a vertical focus, a horizontal focus, you feel like you have a zero focus. Today is to help us. Today is all about helping us kind of narrow that down. So the first question is what do you want me to pay you for? And number 2 is, which one of my friends do you want to talk to? Now, some context on this. Years ago, when I was starting out my coaching and business career, I attended a workshop, and this workshop, Allison, was all about, finding your ideal client and establishing your authority. And they gave us these exercises, which I've really come to dislike. Your ideal client exercise, your perfect avatar, and you should know everything about this person. What kind of car they drive, where they live, how many kids do they have, how much money do they make, what do they do on Saturday morning? And I just said, this is all theory. This doesn't give me anything. If I knew the answers to these questions, I wouldn't be in this workshop, right? And I was very frustrated. And I realized, friends, that there was a difference for those of us who are in this coaching space than for almost every other industry out there. And the distinction is this, that many people follow these ideal client exercises, and the folks who are leading these exercises tend to steer us towards understanding demographics, when rather we should be focused on psychographics. Let me elaborate, and then we're going to answer these questions. Demographics are things like age, income, where you live. Demographics are great if you are in business selling, kids' clothing, right? It's very clear. Even you know who you're targeting. Psychographics are based on people's behavior or how they think. And this is what I want to steer us towards as coaches. Because if I asked any of us here on this call, who are some of your favorite clients, the ones you've worked with, you wouldn't tell. I highly doubt you would tell me, well, Mike, oh my gosh, I just love the 35 to 45-year-old range. I mean, every time I get a client in that range, they're just perfect. That's not true. It's likely that there's something about the way that person or individual thinks, and they happen to be in that age range. So we see clients psychographically. You're probably going to say, I love working with clients who have an open mind and they're teachable. And that can be someone who's 18, that can be someone who's 38, and that can be someone who's 80. Right? So we want to focus on psychographics, how they think. So as I lead you through these questions, I want to encourage us to think psychographically. Think about that from how this client thinks. So when I ask you, what do you want me to pay you for? I want to encourage you guys, just leave something right in the chat right now. So, I give you my credit card. What do I get? Go ahead or if you want to just, raise a hand or chime in, but what do you want me to pay you for? And I'd love to hear some of your responses, because today is all about just honing this down. So I say, Lynn or Tim, I'd love to work with you. What do I get? Okay.
Clarity, action,
Mm-hmm.
change, help you move your organization forward, new skills in EQ, how you overcome obstacles to your success, whatever that looks like,
Mm-hmm.
insight, ideas, motivation,
Good.
help you move toward your organizational and personal mission statement, increased performance and self-awareness, better relationships at work, organizational alignment, how you thrive as a
Mm-hmm.
leader in the world, behavioral change.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath it all, people pay us for a feeling.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah,
reading these as well.
yeah.
Great. Okay. So these are all good. Okay. And there's no trick question going on here. Okay. Or anything like that. These are all good. Um, what I really want to equip you guys with today is a very crystal clear way of making clear to people you talk to or even referrals about what you can offer. And so I'm going to take this question to another notch and say, what do I literally get when I give you my credit card? Because as coaches, when someone asks us, what do you want me to pay you for? These are the answers that usually come out. They're intangibles. These are things that are not concrete, but to our prospects and our clients, when they meet you at a dinner party or a friend wants to refer their friend to you, they need to know quite simply, what is it that I'm getting? So, do I get 5 hours of your time? Do I get an online course? So I want to encourage you guys to type those answers in right now too. So I literally whip out my credit card on Rebecca's website. What do I get? I'm not going to get new ways of thinking and relating. What do I get? What's the offer? So tell me what the product or the service offer is now. And I want you guys to chime in there. And if you're a little unclear, just say that. It's okay. I'm not actually sure. Okay. Smurray said 3 or 12 sessions. Great. Marissa said 4-hour facilitated session. Great. Okay. Give me a few more. 6-month individual or team coaching program. 3-month program. Okay. Yana, I think I'm hopefully saying name right. I've been told not to describe the offer that way. Curious. Okay. All right. Martha said 35 hours combined leadership coaching and organizational development work. Okay. 1-hour empowerment seminar, Jose said. 6 hours of my time. Okay, great. This is good in that many of you have a very clear offer. And what I want to encourage us to do as coaches is to be more upfront about this. And so Jacqueline said it's based on the needs of a client, right? So this is typically what we say, but I want to encourage you to have a more concrete offer. I want you to imagine just for a moment, and this is actually how Allison and I met. Okay, so this is how we met. We met at a networking event here in the DC area. Okay. And we didn't really know each other, but our mutual friend Derek introduced us to one another. And he said, you guys should talk to each other. Okay. So I want us to get out of marketing mode here. I just want us to be real human mode for a second. Or just imagine, right? Just imagine that we all meet at a networking party. And Allison says to me, Mike, I would love for you to meet my friend Martha. Hi, Martha. Great to meet you. Great to meet Mike. You love Martha. She does some stuff very similar to you and I. You guys should just talk. And I talk with Martha, and she's telling me, Martha. So Martha, what do you do? Well, I do some, I help people gain life clarity and their teams, take action and change. And what's happening in that conversation within that first 30 seconds is I am trying to get a concrete idea of what she really does. She literally actually does, right? Because we tend to speak in coaching terms. When in fact, when we meet somebody for the first time, they're looking for a common place to land. They're looking for concrete ground to land on. They're looking for somewhere to put their feet on. And so what I'm really trying to ask is, all right, Allison referred you, she connected us. What is your business? That's what I'm really asking, because Allison referred me to you. I want to help you because she's your friend and my friend, right? And then the second thing is, I'm wondering, is this question that you guys see right here. Which one of my friends do you want to talk to? So even in Martha's response here, and we're just using her as an example, leadership coaching and organizational development work. Okay, that's wonderful. Oh, Mike, this is what I do. You know, I have a mission accelerator program. It's a 35-hour program. I work with various organizations. Okay, great. Okay, I at least know what people pay her for. Now, the second question in my mind is, which one of my friends do you want to talk to? And this is my way of saying or asking, who is your ideal client, or who is your vertical focus or horizontal focus? So right there, let me give you guys an example. Okay, this is what I always ask my students. Do you want to talk to my friend Sarah, who is 25 now, and she's about to graduate pharmacy school? She's single. Would you like to talk to my sister Esther, who's 38 and 39, works at Deloitte, has 2 young kids? Do you want to talk to my friend Henry? He's 42, single dad, works as a recruiter at Whole Foods. Would you like to talk to my friend Jennifer? She's a doctor. She's in her late 50s and has a daughter in college. Would you like to talk to my stepfather, Charles? He's 84, retired. And when I use that example, we start to put faces to the folks that we're trying to target. So I want to ask you guys to just answer this. Which one of my friends would you like to talk to? And we're going to use this as an exercise here. Okay. Because the closer we get to this, then I'm going to lead you through how to attract an audience in this. But I want to see some responses here. Which one of my friends would you like to talk to? Sarah, the pharmacist in her 20s. My sister, the consultant in her 30s. She's got 2 kids. My buddy who's a recruiter in her 40s. My friend who's a surgeon in her 50s. My stepfather who's retired in his 80s. Who do you want to talk to? If it's not one of those people, who would you want me to talk to? And what this exercise helps us do is get out of get out of theory and make it more concrete. So I just want to, give this a moment here for us to think through this. And I'd love for you to share some thoughts. Okay, I love Russ's comment. So I see that, Russ. So we're gonna kind of go on that a little bit further. I'd love to get maybe like 1 or 2 more responses, and then we'll dig into this. And I'm gonna help you guys in real time, just kind of narrow this down a little bit.
Hey, Mike, while we're getting this in, these results in, are you, by your question 1, are you encouraging people to package more? I mean, what if their deal is I meet with people for 2 hours a month and that's it? And is that enough? Or are you saying, no, are you implying, no, it needs to feel more like a package?
I feel like it's okay to have different packages or be a little bit more open-ended. But when we're in that moment and we're meeting someone for the first time, or we're asking someone for a referral, we have to overstate or overly make concrete what we do. So when I meet people for the first time, it's likely this is probably what happened with you and I when we first met. Derek said, Mike, meet Allison. Allison, meet Mike. We talked at the event. And you probably asked me, so Mike, tell me a little bit about what you do. I write product launches for information product people. Many of them are coaches, but these are folks who want to sell an online product. I write their campaigns. And say, oh, that's really interesting. Tell me more. And then there's the second level question. So what I want to make sure that we don't do, I don't want us to fumble the ball on the first question, because that first question is not about scoring the touchdown. It's just to get, 5 yards down the field to the second question, and then to the third question. And then I remember we talked for like 20, 30 minutes
Yeah, totally.
right there.
Yeah.
So when I hear from Russ, hey, and I meet Russ at a networking party. Hey Russ, it's so good to meet you. Allison referred us, like, yeah, man, what do you do these days? What are you working on? And he gives me a strong answer. Oh, I do 90-day packages with senior leaders. Okay, at least 90-day package is very concrete. I'm not sure what a senior leader is. And that's exactly my point. So Russ, right here, we're just going to use you as an example. Okay, this is just an exercise for everybody. I'm not sure what a senior leader is. So what's going to automatically happen is psychologically, emotion, I'm going to kind of check out because I don't know what a senior leader is. And it doesn't matter how many times he tells me senior leader, senior leader, senior leader. He's actually, guys, pay attention to this. This is what's happening. He's transferring the responsibility of clarity onto my shoulders. And that's not a burden I want.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he's asking me for a referral, and then he's going to make me try to figure out who his ideal client is, I'm just going to say no, or I'm just going to ignore the email, or I'm just going to be polite and say good luck. But if he says, oh, Mike, if you have any friends who are leading a company of less than 25 employees and they've been in business for under 3 years, there's some really specific challenges those guys have. I love working with people. Do you know anyone who's got a company like about 10 employees and they've been in business for about 3 years and they're facing some challenges in scaling? Immediately, I have 3 people in my mind just because of those parameters. He's giving me something more concrete. Now, let's go to Marissa's comment here. Marissa said, your sister, the consultant. And so what I would ask Marissa here, okay, what is it about my sister that spoke to you? Is it that she was a consultant? Is it her age? Is it her family situation? So the more and more concrete you can get with it, the better. So Marissa may say, and I'm not going to put her on the spot here, but she may say, oh, Mike, I'm looking for mid-career women with kids who are under 10 years old, and they're looking to make a transition in their life. Oh, okay. Mid-career woman. What age? Like, I kind of have an age range in my mind. As soon as she says mid-career woman, I'm like, oh, cool. Marissa. So what age are we talking about? You see, that's the second question I'm going to ask, because I have something concrete, a little bit more concrete. Oh, Mike, typically mid-career women are between 35 and 42. And I'm just making this up, right? And they have kids, they have a family, but they're seriously considering a career change because they want to spend more time with their family, with their kids. They want to see them grow up, and the demands of their job are just much too stringent. Okay, great. Now we can have a conversation. So I know I'm not sending to Marissa, my stepfather, and I'm not sending my friend Sarah, who's the pharmacist and she's 25, to Marissa. I have an idea. Then I might say to Marissa, guess what? I have a ton of people like that in my audience or in my network. Why don't you come and do a webinar with us? That's exactly what's going to happen if I'm like, wow, she's got an expertise with a particular either vertical focus or horizontal focus that I can apply. So this is just a little bit of an exercise here just to get us a little bit more clear, right? And so I just want us to have a picture of that person. Picture a person so that you can clearly ask your past clients or other folks in your network, the folks you want to work with. So Allison, I want to pause here for a second because there's some other things that I want to share in terms of like how to build the audience, how to get started. I have some other things here, but I want to make sure that this sort of settles in because it is a paradigm shift.
So can I
Yeah.
ask a question about it? So what if Russ had said, I work with leaders who are trying to take their career to the next level. They might feel like they don't have the skills they need. They might feel like they're not good politically. They don't know how to manage the politics. They might feel like they don't know how to manage. And I help them through those things. Is that, would that meet your test?
I still wouldn't know. I still wouldn't know who he was talking about because again, the next level is very vague. Right? So leaders, next level, this is coaching speak that in the real world, I completely get it as a marketer. I completely get why we say these things. But in the real world, when we're asking people to help us out or for referrals or for new opportunities, these things don't make sense to the everyday person.
Okay. So what I'm getting confused about is your
Mhm.
encouragement to define our audience by psychographics. Because I feel like I just kind of did, which is so, and not demographics. But how can you, if you're pulling out your Rolodex, how can you really identify by psychographics? Don't I also need to give you a sense of demographics?
It depends on the situation. For example, let's say he says, "Yeah, I want to work with leaders who are trying to go to the next level." That's complete. I don't have demographics or psychographics really, because next level for some leaders is I want to make $100,000 a year.
Right.
For other leaders, next level means I want to stop working and hand my company off to somebody who can run it. And still to other leaders, next level means I want to retire and I need an exit strategy. Like I completely want to sell my company. And I don't know what to do with all this money that I'm sitting on. See, those three things are very, very different. Now, if you're working with folks, and again, this is like there's a lot to unpack here, which is why I love like these conversations, and I love the press for clarity. Because if you're working with business people, those people tend to think in terms of numbers. So that's when I'm going to use that to my advantage and give them something concrete. Recently, I had a conversation with a client of mine, and we put it on my podcast. He allowed me to do it because he is a young guy. He's a marketing consultant. And he said, I want to work with businesses who are in the who are making somewhere between $100,000 to $300,000. And I said, Nick, those are two completely different people. They have two completely different problems. They think very differently. And so I'll gladly send that link to Sarah. She can get it out to you guys if you'd like. It's just a very short 15-minute clip of our conversation. But in the business world, Allison, because they are more concrete with numbers, I'm going to use that. With someone who's maybe more of a life coach, right? I'm going to try to find language that would help them understand. And I might not be as granular as saying, do you have two kids under 5 years old and are looking for the next level in life? Let's talk. I might couch that language more in something that, that would be familiar with them. You know, it might, again, off the top of my head, raising a young family is very challenging. It's easy to get lost in the day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, scramble of family life. And the days are long, but the years are short. And you don't want this to get away from you. So if you've got a young family, I'd love to talk about some of these challenges. There, I'm not using clear-cut numbers. I'm trying to find language that really, really connects with that person. So as soon as you say young family, I don't have kids, but I pretty much think my sister has a young family. But if she had kids who were 12 years old, I would still think the kids are young.
Yeah.
So it just really depends. So yeah, there's a blend of both.
Right.
And I'm glad you asked that question because I'm not saying it's one or the other, but it's far less demographics than it is psychographics. And I just want to steer us away from, a lot of the folks who talk only about demographics because it's usually not like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, mhm. Cool. And I'm glad you guys are finding these helpful. I'm glad. Just the conversation. And this is just a wrestling. I don't have I wish I could just boom, maybe wave a magic wand. Believe me, I wish I could. But I just find that better answers come with better questions. And we all as coaches know this. So if you guys don't mind, I know a lot of the questions that came in were about, social media and how do I get, started building an audience. And I'm just going to share a real simple tactic here with you. And I'm going to leave it to your coach, Allison, to see how much this is maybe encouraged or enforced. But a lot of folks ask me, Mike, how do I even get word out? How do I get started building an audience? Finding referrals these days is really tricky. And I'm almost 100% positive that I said this in the first call. But if you ask me what my philosophy on marketing is, it's that marketing isn't about closing a sale. It's about opening a relationship, right? Marketing is opening relationships. And if we can just take that perspective to our market, right, to our prospects, to our past clients, and even our current clients, we all know it's very difficult for any kind of relationship to grow and thrive if you don't talk, if you don't communicate. Those of you who have a significant other or kids, you tell me, you don't talk for a while, or you have communication issues, it's not really going to be a healthy relationship. So rather than focusing on social media, and I don't want to turn you all into influencers, I give you 3 other things to put on your plate. What I do want us to do, though, is just talk more with the people we already know, your current clients, your past clients, your colleagues right here in this room and in this program. Let's just start there. Okay. And I've walked people through this who have 0 people on an email list or a database. And I will say this unequivocally till the day I die. Social media is an outpost. It is if we talk about your home base, and maybe some of you have a website or something like that, that's fine. But really, your home base is where people can find out everything that they need to know about you. For many of us, it's a website or something like. And social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of these are outposts. This is an outpost. I'm just using some military terminology here, right? And we have. I'll just continue the analogy. There are embassies, and these are other people's platforms. That's what I'm doing today. This is, you guys are not my clientele. I'm deeply honored that Allison would share you with me and allow me to speak to you, but this is not my home base, right? I'm like a guest coming here and just sharing what I know, right? And so too much of the time we get focused on these outer things, and they're not bad, but what we really need to do is focus and get strong in our home base. And for many of us, this is as simple as just your email contact list. And if email list sounds a little bit too markety, I just want you to think of your database. Even the simplest small business, the pizza shop that you order food from, on Fridays, they have a database. They have your information in there. And even if their social media goes down, or, the magazine that was running their ads goes down, and even if their website goes down, they can just email you, right? There's a way to get in direct touch. So first of all, I wanted to encourage us to talk more with our audience. And that can be as simple as, and I know we had some questions on how do you follow up with people. Let's just start with this. Mike, I don't really talk too much, or I don't really email my people too much, or I don't really reach out to them too much. Well, let's start there. Okay. And I've scripted this, and you guys are going to get this. I know this sounds very, very, this is not a very profound email. Okay. This is the entire email. Okay. And so this week, what I'd love for you guys to do is send this email to your current or past clients. And I'm going to explain why it's worded this way. This may not be for you, but ... Psychologically, the reason I wrote the line that way is that you're not sounding like you're pushy. And you're admitting that this may not be something that they're interested in, but you were thinking of them. And third, right, it gives you an out, right? It gives you an out if it's not for them. But there's also a lot of mystery in that subject. This may not be for you. What may not be for me? Wait a second. I want to open this and find out what this is, right? So there's a lot of intrigue. Okay. And the email simply, and you send this email individually to every client that you have, as long as it's manageable. Okay. If you have like 5,000 people on your list, then this is not going to be feasible to do. You have to send everybody, one email. But if you have, 10, 20 clients whose email addresses that you have in your Gmail account or whatnot, you just say, hey, Mike, I'm writing some articles about the challenges that leaders of startups face and thought you might be interested, okay, or whatever it is. Or I'm writing some articles about parents with young families and how they're facing the challenges of COVID-19. And I thought you might be interested. Can I pass some stuff along to you? And then you sign off. Love, Allison. Okay. And what will happen is that some of those folks will write you back and they will just simply write, of course, sure, yeah, send them along. And there's a couple of things psychologically I'm going to just share with you guys here from a marketing perspective. You must end with the question. It keeps an open loop. Don't write, have a nice day, hope to hear from you, love you, blah, blah, blah. Just, can I pass some stuff along to you? Sincerely, Allison, right? And it's going to create an open loop. Secondly, it's very short. So you don't want them to read something long and then go about their day. Short reply, yeah, sure. And that's all you want. I guarantee you guys, people will write you back and say yes. And when they do, I want you to remember my encouragement right now. This is the universe's way of telling you that people want to hear from you. They love you. They value you. Receive the affirmation and the validation that they want to hear from you. Okay. And again, these are folks who know you already, guys, your past clients and your current clients and some of your colleagues, right? So they already know, like you, and trust you. So you just send this email. You're going to get people who say yes. When they say yes, not if they say yes, when they say yes, when some of them say yes, you send this second email. Now, some of you like to respond in the same thread, and others of you organizationally in your inbox, the way you set it up, may want to start a separate email thread. It's completely up to you. That's why I've given you two subject lines. If they write you back and you're in camp number one, where you just want to keep it in the same thread, just respond, and they say, yes, I love it, pass it on. Okay. Then you just write this email right back to them. Hey, Mike, awesome. Really quick. I have two questions. What's your biggest question about, parenting young kids during COVID-19? Like, what's been your biggest struggle? Okay. You word it in something like that. And number two, what books, blogs, or podcasts do you go to in order to learn more about this stuff? Would you let me know? And what's going to happen is these folks are going to write you back, because it's totally a relational conversation here. Remember, it's all about opening a relationship, not closing a sale. Okay. And what I'm teaching you guys to do here is to gather data, gather information. Chances are the biggest, most popular answer to this first question here, what's your biggest question or what's your biggest struggle? Chances are most of the people who write back are going to write something very, very similar. It's going to be a very common struggle, very common thing. And secondly, what books, blogs, or podcasts do you go to? What I'm teaching you to do from a marketing standpoint is to understand your competition, if you will. And I hate to use that word competition, but I just want you to have a better idea of who your people are listening to. Okay. So we just start here, right? And as you get these answers to what's the biggest frustration or what's the biggest question, I am absolutely sure that you guys will have some thoughts on that. And it can be as simple as, someone say, I don't even know how to talk to my children about this stuff. I don't know what to say to my spouse. We're canned up in the house all day. Chances are you're going to have something that you can contribute to that conversation. And you can just say, hey, I don't have all the answers. And this is for all of us as coaches who sometimes struggle with telling people what to do. Maybe it's as simple as presenting a few helpful questions that they can use to ask their spouse or ask their kids or even ask themselves. Mike, thanks so much for your response. Or you can email everyone at that point and say, friends, I sent out this email last week and I was blown away. 24 people responded. And this was the biggest challenge that everyone said that they faced. I don't have the answers to this, but here's something that I think might help you. Consider asking yourself these 3 questions. What would I do if I had more courage? What's giving me excitement and right now? And number 3, what does this make possible? Just ask yourself these questions. I know you're under a lot of stress right now, but just ask yourself these questions. And, I'd love to hear your responses. Write me back. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, Mike, this sounds like a lot of email. You know what's going to happen? It's going to be really fun because I know all of you are good people and you care about bridging the divide, right? It's going to be fun for you to dialogue with your clients this way and dialogue with your market this way because you're going to find that you're able to help them. And at the same time, you're actually creating content. You're creating content. And that content can be repurposed into other things later. Social media, podcasts. You can go on someone else's network and share your expertise or share it on LinkedIn. But I want to make this as natural as possible for you. You don't have to start an Instagram account and just create all these graphics and go out there. Just start with the people you know. Virginia asked a great question. Mike, what if I'm starting a business and don't have current former clients to email? The easiest thing to do, Virginia, is just email just 10 of your friends, 10 colleagues, because those folks may know somebody. So if I'm emailing, like if I was starting my business over today and I emailed this to my sister and I said, hey, S, I'm going to write some articles on, marketing for personal brands. Is this of interest to you? And if not, do you know anyone who would find this interesting? Can you pass this email along to them? And that's what I would do. Okay. So Charlie, you asked the same thing. What if my friends in social group are not the type of clients I want? We won't know that until we do it. And we actually won't know, right? Who they know. Many of the folks that we want to help maybe not are within the first degree of separation, but there's 2 degrees of separation away. Because when you have the clarity on that and you're able to share, hey, I'm going to write some stuff about this and thought you might be interested. There's clarity there and people will start to share that because these are your friends, these are your colleagues, these are your family members. There's so much more rapport. You guys have more allies than you believe you do. I'm just going to say that right now. There are more people willing to help you than you realize. It just takes the courage for that first step to put yourself out there. Okay. Now, Marissa asked a great follow-up question, and then I'll wind this down here, and Allison will take any additional questions. When do you send them the articles you promised them from the first email? It's completely up to you, Marissa. I wouldn't wait like 6 months, but you'll find that people they will almost forget about the articles if you're just emailing them and you're in dialogue with them. Because they just want relationship. They want connection. People are craving relationship and connection right now. We're all bottled up behind a computer screen. Just a thoughtful note like this can really, really activate and re-energize the network that you already have. Then you can take some of the content that you create for them or the responses that you give and turn that and repurpose that into other content later on. I could go on this, for a long, long time. I have just other ideas on how you can repurpose content, but this is the most natural place to start. And I'll honestly say this: I'm very fortunate. My business is, we have a podcast and an email list. But here's honestly what I would say to you guys as friends, and as colleagues in this space. If someone hacked my website, someone hacked all my social media accounts, someone even hacked my, my business email list, all of it was taken away from me and had nothing. This is what I would seriously do. I would call up Allison and say, "Hey, Allison, I'm in a bind. My whole business got hacked. I'm gonna start writing some stuff on personal branding or copywriting. Do you know anyone who might be interested? Can I pass this stuff along to you?" And this is just naturally what I would do. And she, "Oh, Mike, yeah, sure. I know like two, three people who could probably use this stuff." And even if I completely forgot how to set up a website, I had total amnesia, I could build a business that way. I could rebuild my business that way. Okay. So I'm gonna pause here. I love sharing this stuff. So I hope you guys can feel the optimism and the energy. There is hope. Okay. So I'm gonna stop my share, and absolutely I'm gonna send this PDF to you guys, and I'll send along some other scripts as well. Allison, these are products that are in my community or in my course and stuff like that. But I just want to really help you guys, because sometimes reaching out and writing and sending that message is the hardest part. So if I can take some of the, like, what do I even say in this out, and you just, all I leave it to you to do is hit send, right? You're going to see some really good things come back your way. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
Right.
We can probably take maybe one question before we have to sign off here. Anyone want to raise your virtual hand and ask a question? And Sarah, is there anything that Mike didn't already address in the chat box? Let me ask you to start there first.
Yeah, Jeannie asked a question earlier on, and she said, if you work in an area of prevention that results in healthy aging, can you use an example that might be clear and crisp?
Prevention and healthy aging. Was that?
That's right.
And an example of content to share?
It looks like it, yes. Yes.
Okay. So it's funny you asked that, because I actually have a client right now. He's kind of a celebrity doctor, and we're angling this all around what's happening with COVID-19, and we're talking about brain health, right? He's a brain specialist, and he does brain scans, and it's okay for me to talk about who he is. It's fine. His name is Dr. Daniel Amen, and PBS specials and all the things. So I'm running his launch next year. We're working on that right now. And so when we strategized, I said, Dr. Amen, all these folks, he's giving me all these statistics about, what's happening with people who have been, we've all been in quarantine, and what's happening to our brains and stuff like that. And I said, okay, I just want to share some content with the audience. I literally am doing with him what I just shared with you guys. And I say that 100% with authenticity, and I totally stand behind that. I said, we're going to email your list, and we're going to ask them this. We're going to send them this email. Okay. And based on the responses, we created this short little piece of content, and we nicknamed it Ants Automatic Negative Thoughts. Because that's what he was saying. People just have these thoughts like, oh, my day is going to be really bad. The kids are cooped up. They're going to be behind a Zoom screen all day. It's just going to be a bad day. And I just said, oh, that's a very automatic bad thought. He's like, oh, that's an automatic negative thought. Now, he's not telling them how to fix the thought. He's just helping them become aware that this is what they're doing every day. We have this default programming in our minds towards the negative. And that, oh my gosh, this was so illuminating. If you guys have ever faced a problem, the first step isn't necessarily trying to fix it. The first step is trying to understand the problem. So when you're in preventative, care, just bring awareness to the problem. This is why you're having a migraine. People, oh my God, I've been wrestling with this for so long. Thank you. They just want awareness. So for those of you who are in that space, just bring awareness to the issue. I can't explain what's going on. And then you explain, oh, okay. Now that doesn't fix the problem, but it brings awareness. And that is the first step. So those of you there, yeah, absolutely.
That